Ben Rodwell, current occupation student. At the moment, I am the production manager for Chappelle. So Chappelle was one of the recipients for the Glamourland Touring Scholarship at the end of last year. So I've taken on the role as their production manager.
So when did you begin your work on this project?
I essentially joined on at the beginning of this year.
Okay.
But the company themselves, they were working on this show toward the end of last year. And they said that they needed a production manager, and I said that I was happy to help out for this tour that they're doing.
What would you say is your role as tour manager or production manager?
I guess mainly, so some of the things that I've been focusing on at the moment, I guess securing a rehearsal venue. I've been liaising with the events coordinator for Factory Theatre. So that's where we're putting on our show in August. So it's been talking to him, sort of negotiating the times that we can use that space, any sort of like technical requirements that we do. Really ad hoc jobs like, printing, budgeting as well. That's a really big one. I'm looking after the budget for this as well.
So what do you have to consider for the different locations that you're using? So you mentioned that you're in Factory.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need to consider in terms of like equipment hire, and I guess rehearsal hires or room hire is also something that you were mentioning?
Yeah, so I guess firstly for like a rehearsal space, I guess something that's, big enough that can fit, at least 12, people at a time. I guess things to consider for Factory Theatre as well, because it is a different space to where this first show was done. We don't have all the, I guess, luxuries that that they had when they were doing it at the university. So I guess like the stage is a lot smaller, so that's something that we're going to have to consider as well. We'll essentially have to hire a contractor to do some of the tech stuff. Running time is a really big one. They're quite strict with the running time, and we have to have a intermission. They're probably the main things that I can think of at the moment. There's definitely more. I know there's more stuff to consider.
What did you have to budget for within this tour?
I guess the biggest one would be the use of Fusebox in Factory Theatre. That's where a lot of our income's going. So we're essentially utilising that space for a whole week. So that'll take up, a few $1,000s for that. Something else, we've allocated a small amount of budget for, for set pieces, for props. But the biggest one would be, the use of that space. And as well, rehearsal space, because they're rehearsing in the inner west in Sydney. We're hoping to anyway. Hires for venue are quite pricey.
That's kind of the number one. Yeah. How long is your residency or your show kind of hoping to go for, and then how much overall would you say the budgeting for it is?
Well, I guess for this one, for the first shows that we're doing, so we're putting on 4 shows at the end of July, early August. I've sort of, if we can stick to around $3,500 for this run, that would be great, because that means if we were to do something in the future for, say, Sydney Festival, Bondi, anything like that, that would still have a little bit of money there as well. And we're hoping to make back, a bit of profit through ticket sales as well.
Do you think you'll end up breaking even on the show, or do you think it's going to be one of those cases of like, this will be a loss, but in terms of long-term investment?
Yeah, it's so hard to tell. I don't know. I guess the great thing, with this scholarship initially is that, it gives groups like a really good foundation, because how often, do you receive, $7,000 to register the company name as well, and to be really strict with our spending issues with at the moment, particularly with it being...
Are there any aspects of having a show without like a permanent space that you think are important to consider? Like, is venue hire something that you need to get ahead of super early?
I think, the things to really consider, that's something to be really mindful of at the beginning, getting everyone's like availabilities together so you can just plan accordingly.
Do you have anything to add in terms of like a production manager on a show?
I don't know, it's just about like being prepared and just sort of like understanding that I guess not everything will go right. So it's just sort of having like backup plans if possible. But I think being prepared as early as possible, like registering that business, getting that ABN, looking into venue hire straight away, that'll save a lot of hassle.
I think that's kind of it for my questions.
Cool.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming in.
Yay, thank you.